Last time we ended on the death of Actaeon, who accidentally stumbled upon Pallas and her nymphs as they were bathing naked outside. And as punishment, Pallas turned him into a stag, and he was then attacked and torn apart by his own dogs. So we'll pick up with the aftermath of those events. Now, where is my spot? I just had it. The ransom he paid. Oh, here we go. Much muttering was upon this fact. Some thought there was extended a great deal more extremity than needed. Some commended Diana's doing, saying it was but worthy for safeguard of her womanhood. Each party did apply good reasons to defend their case. Alone the wife of Jove, or liking or misliking it not, all so greatly strove, as secretly rejoiced in heart, that such a plague was light on Cadmus' lineage, turning all the malice and the spite conceived erst against the wench that Jove had fet fro Tyre, upon the kindred of the wench, and for to fierce her ire another thing clean overthwart there cometh in the nick. The lady Semele, great with child by Jove, as then was quick. Hereat she gan to fret and fume, and for to ease her heart, which else would burst, she fell in hand with scolding out her part. And what a good year have I wound by scolding erst, she said. Is it that errant queen herself against whose wicked head I must essay to give assault? And if, as men me call, I be that Juno, who in heaven bear greatest swing of all, if in my hand I worthy be to hold the royal mace, and if I be the queen of heaven and sovereign of this place, or wife and sister unto Jove, his sister well I know, but as for wife, that name is vain. I serve but for a show to cover other privy scapes. I will confound that whore. Now, with the mischief that she bagged and beareth out before her open shame to all the world, and shortly hopes to be the mother of a son by Jove, the which hath happed to me not passing once in all my time. So sore she doth presume upon her beauty, but I trow her hope shall soon consume. For never let me counted be for Saturn's daughter more, if by her own dear darling Jove, on whom she trusts so sore, I send her not to Styx's stream. This ended up, she rose, and covered in golden cloud to Semele's house she goes. And ere she sent away the cloud, she takes an old wives' shape, with hoary hair and rivelled skin, with slow and crooked gait, as though she had the palsy, had her feeble limbs did shake. And each she faltered in the mouth as often as she spake. She seemed old beldame Barrow of Epidaure to be, this lady Semele's nurse, as right tough as though it had been she. So when after mickle talk of purpose ministered, Jove's name was upped, by and by she gave a sigh and said, I wish with all my heart that Jove be the cause to thee of this. For, daughter dear, I dread the worst. I fear it be amiss. For many varlets under name of gods to serve their lust have into undefiled beds themselves full often thrust. And though it been the mighty Jove, yet doth not that suffice, unless he also make the same apparent to our eyes. And if it be even very he, I say, it doth behoove he prove it by some open sign and token of his love, and therefore pray him for to grant that look in what degree, what order, fashion, sort, and state he used to company, who, with mighty Juno, in the same in every point and case, to all intents and purposes, he thee likewise embrace, and that he also bring with him his bright threefold mace. With such instructions, Juno had informed Cadmus' niece, and she, poor silly simple soul, immediately on this requested Jove to grant a boon, the which she did not name. "Ask for what thou wilt, sweetheart," quoth he, "thou shalt not miss the same. And for to make thee sure thereof, the grisly Stygian lake, which is the fear and god of gods, bear witness for thy sake." She joying in her own mischance, not having any power to rule herself, but making speed to haste her fatal hour, in which she through her lover's help should work her own decay, said, "Such as Juno findeth you when you and she do play the games of Venus, such I pray thee show thyself to me in every case." The god would fain have stopped her mouth, but she had made such haste that out it was, which made him full sore. For neither she could then unwish the things she wished before, nor he revoke his solemn oath. Wherefore, with sorry heart and heavy countenance, by and by to heaven he doth depart, and makes to follow after him, with looks full grim and stour, the flaky clouds all grisly black as when they thread a shower. To which he added, mixed with wind, a fierce and flashing flame, with dry and dreadful thunderclaps, and lightning to the same of deadly unavoided dint. And yet, as much as may, he goes about his vehement force and fierceness to allay. He doth not arm him with the fire with which he did remove the giant with the 100 hands, Typhoeus, from above. It was too cruel and too sore to use against his love. The Cyclops made another kind of lightning far more light, wherein they put much less of fire, less fierceness, lesser might. It hight in heaven the second mace. Jove arms himself with this, and enters into Cadmus' house, where Semele's chamber is. She, being mortal, was too weak and feeble to withstand such troublous tumults of the heavens, and therefore out of hand was burned in her lover's arms. But yet he took away his infant from the mother's womb, unperfect as it lay, and, if a man may credit it, did in his thigh it so, where abiding out the mother's time, it did to ripeness grow. And when the time of birth was come, his aunt, the lady Ina, did nurse him for a while by stealth, and kept him trim and fine. The nymphs of Nysa afterward did in their bowers him hide, and brought him up with milk, till time he might abroad be spied. Now, while these things were done on earth, and that by fatal doom the twice-born Bacchus had a time to man's estate to come, they say that Jove disposed to mirth, as he and Juno sate a-drinking nectar after meat, in sport and pleasant rate, did fall a-jesting with his wife, and said, "How greater pleasure in Venus' games you women have than men beyond all measure." She answered, "No, to try the truth, they both of them agree, the wise Tiresias in this case indifferent judge to be, who both the man and woman's joys by trial understood. For finding once two mighty snakes engendering in a wood, he strake them overthwart the backs, by means whereof, behold, as strange a thing to be of truth as ever yet was told, he being made a woman straight, 7 winter lived so. The 8th he finding them again, did say unto them though, and if to strike ye have such power as for to turn their shape, that are the giver of the stripe, before you hence escape. One stripe now I will lend you more. He strake them as before, and straight returned his former shape, in which he first was born. Tiresias, therefore, being ta'en to judge this jesting strife, gave sentence on the side of Jove. The which the queen his wife did take a great deal more to heart than needed, and in spite to wreak her teen upon her judge, bereft him of his sight. But Jove, for to the gods it is unlawful to undo the things which other of the gods by any means have due, did give him sight in things to come, for loss of sight of eye, and so his grievous punishment with honor did supply, by means whereof, within a while in city, field, and town, through all the coast of Aeone was bruited his renown. And folk to have their fortunes read that daily did resort were answered, so as none of them could give him misreport. The first that of his soothfast words had proof in all this realm was freckled Liriop, whom sometime surprised in his stream the fled Cephasus did enforce. This lady bare a son, whose beauty at his very birth might justly love have won. Narcissus did she call his name, of whom the prophet sage demanded if the child should live to many years of age, made answer, yea, full long, so that himself he do not know. The soothsayer's words seemed long but vain, until the end did show his saying to be true, indeed by strangeness of the rage, and strangeness of the kind of death that did abridge his age. For when years 3 times 5 and 1 he fully lived had, so that he seemed to stand between the state of man and lad, the hearts of divers trim young men his beauty gan to move, and many a lady fresh and fair was taken in his love. But in that grace of nature's gift such passing pride did reign, that to be touched of man or maid he wholly did disdain. A babbling nymph, that Echo hight, who hearing others talk by no means can restrain her tongue, but that it needs must walk, nor of herself hath power again to speak to any wight, despite him driving into toils the fearful stags of flight. This Echo was a body then, and not an only voice, yet of her speech she had that time no more than now the choice, that is to say, of many words the latter she repeat. This cause thereof was Juno's wrath. For when that with the feet she might have often taken Jove in dalliance with his dames, and that by stealth and unbawares in midst of all his games, the elf would with her tattling talk detain her by the way, until that Jove had wrought his will, and they were fled away. The which when Juno did perceive, she said with wrathful mood, this tongue that hath deluded me shall do thee little good. For if of thy speech but simple use hereafter shalt thou have, the deed itself did straight confirm the threatenings that she gave. Yet echo of the former talk doth double off the end, and back again with just report the words erst spoken send. Now when she saw Narcissus stray about the forest wide, she waxed warm, and step for step fast after him she hied. The more she followed after him, and nearer that she came, the woter did ever she wax as nearer to her flame. Like as the lively brimstone doth which dipped about a match, and put but softly to the fire, the flame doth lightly catch. O Lord, how often would she fain, if nature would have let, entreated him with gentle words some favor for to get. But nature would not suffer her, nor give her leave to gin, yet So far forth the she by grant at nature's handle could win. Aye, ready with attentive ear, she hearkens for some sound, whereto she might reply her words, from which she is not bound. By chance, the stripling being strayed from all his company, said, "Is there anybody nigh?" Straight echo answered, "Aye." Amazed, he casts his eye aside, and looketh round about. And come, that all the forest rung aloud, he calleth out, "And come," saith she. He looketh back, and seeing no man follow, "Wife list," he crieth once again, and she the same doth hollow. He still persists in wondering much what kind of thing it was, from which that answering voice, by turns so duly seemed to pass, said, "Let us join." She, by her will desirous to have said, in faith with none more willingly at any time or stead, said, "Let us join." And standing somewhat in her own conceit, upon these words she left the wood, and forth she yedeth straight to call the lovely neck, for which she longed had so much. He runs his way, and will not be embraced of no such, and saith, "I first will die, ere thou shalt take of me thy pleasure." She answered nothing else thereto, but, "Take me of thy pleasure." Now when she saw herself thus mocked, she gave her to the woods, and hid her head for very shame among the leaves and buds, and ever since she lives alone in dens and hollow caves. Yet stuck her love still to her heart, through which she daily raves the more for sorrow of repulse. Through restless cark and care her body pines to skin and bone, and waxeth wondrous bare. The blood doth vanish into air from out of all her veins, and naught is left but voice and bones. The voice yet still remains, her bones, they say, return to stones. From thence she lurking still in woods will never show her head in field, nor yet on hill. Yet is she heard of every man, it is her only sound, and nothing else that doth remain alive above the ground. Thus he had mocked this wretched nymph, and many more beside, that in the waters, woods, and groves, or mountains did abide. Thus he had mocked many men, of which one, miscontent to see himself deluded so, his hands to heaven upbent, and said, "I pray to God he may once feel fierce Cupid's fire, as I do now, and yet not joy the things he doth desire." The goddess Ramnus, who doth wreak on wicked people take, assented to his just request, for ruth and pity's sake. There was a spring without in mud, as silver clear and still, which neither shepherds nor the goats that fed upon the hill, nor other cattle trouble had, nor savage beast had stirred, nor branch, nor stick, nor leaf of tree, nor any fowl nor bird. The moisture fed and kept aye fresh the grass that grew about, and with their leaves the trees did keep the heat of feasts out. The stripling, weary with the heat and hunting in the chase, and much delighted with the spring and coolness of the place, did lay him down upon the brim. And as he stooped low to staunch his thirst, another thirst of worse effect did grow, for as he drank, he chanced to spy the image of his face, the which he did immediately with fervent love embrace. He feeds a hope without cause. Why? For like a foolish noddy, he thinks the shadow that he sees to be a lively body. Astrated like an image made of marble stone he lies, there gazing on his shadow still with fixed staring eyes stretched all along upon the ground. It doth him good to see his ardent eyes, which like two stars full bright and shining be, and each his fingers, such as Bacchus might beseem, and hair that one might worthy Apollo's hair deem. His beardless chin and ivory neck, and each the perfect grace of white and red, indifferently but painted in his face. All these he wondereth to behold, for which, as I do gather, himself was to be wondered at, or to be pitied rather. He is enamored of himself for want of taking heed, and where he likes another thing, he likes himself indeed. He is the party whom he woos, and suitor that doth woo. He is the flame that sets on fire, and thing that burneth too. O Lord, how often did he kiss that false, deceitful thing? How often did he thrust his arms midway into the spring, to have embraced the neck he saw, and could not catch himself? He knows not what it was he saw, and yet the foolish elf doth burn in ardent love thereof, the very self-same thing that doth bewitch and blind his eyes, increaseth all his sting. Thou fondling thou, why dost thou rot the fickle image so? The thing thou seest is not there, and if aside thou go, the thing thou lovest straight is gone. It is none other matter that thou dost see than of thyself the shadow and the water. The thing is nothing of itself. With thee it doth abide, with thee it would depart if thou withdrew thyself aside. No care of meat could draw him thence, nor yet desire of rest, but lying flat against the ground, and leaning on his breast with greedy eyes, he gazeth still upon the falsed face, and through his sight is wrought his bane. Yet for a little space he turns and sets himself upright, and holding up his hands with piteous voice unto the wood that round about him stands, cries out and says, Alas, ye woods, and was there ever any that loved so cruelly as I, you know? For unto many a place of harrow have you been, and fought a refuge strong. Can you remember any one in all your time so long that hath pined away as I see, and am full fain. Howbeit that I like and see, I cannot yet attain so great a blindness in my heart. Through doting love doth reign, and for to spite me, more withal it is no journey far, no drenching sea, no mountain high, no wall, no lock, no bar, it is but even a little drop that keeps us two asunder. He would be had. For look how oft I kiss the water under, so oft again with upward mouth he rise up toward me. A man would think to touch at least I should yet able be. It is a trifle, in respect that lets us of our love, whatsoever that thou art come hither up above. O peerless peace, why dost thou me, thy lover, thus delude? O whither fliest thou, of thy friend thus earnestly pursued? I wish I neither am so foul, nor yet so grown in years, that in this wise thou shouldst me shewn. To have me to their fears, the nymphs themselves have sued ere this, and yet, as should appear, thou dost pretend some kind of hope of friendship by the cheer. For when I stretch mine arms to thee, thou stretchest thine likewise, and if I smile, thou smilest too. And when that from mine eyes the tears do drop, I well perceive the water stands in thine. Like gesture also dost thou make to every beck of mine, and as by moving of thy sweet and lovely lips I ween, thou speakest words, although mine ears conceive not what they mean. It is myself I well perceive, it is mine image sure, that in this sort, deluding me, this fury doth procure. I am enamoured of myself. I do both set on fire, and am the thing that swelteth too. Through impotent desire, what shall I do? Be wooed or woo? Whom shall I woo therefore? The thing I seek is in myself? My plenty makes me poor. Oh, would to God I for a while might from my body part. This wish is strange to hear, a lover wrapped all in smart, to wish away the thing, the which he loveth as his heart. My sorrow takes away my strength. I have not long to live, but in the flower of youth must die. To die it doth not grieve, for that by death shall come the end of all my grief and pain. I would this youngling whom I love might longer life obtain, for in one soul shall now delay we steadfast lovers twain. This said in rage, she turns again unto the foresaid shade, and roars the water with the tears and slobbering that he made, that through his troubling of the well his image gan to fade, which when he saw to vanish so, "Oh, whither dost thou fly? Abide, I pray thee heartily," aloud began to cry. "Forsake me not so cruelly, that loveth thee so dear, but give me leave a little while my dazzled eyes to cheer with sight of that, for which to touch is utterly denied, thereby to feed my wretched rage and fury for a tide, as in this wise he made his moan. He stripped off his coat, and with his fist outrageously his naked stomach smote. A ruddy color where he smote rose on his stomach sheer, like apples which do partly white and striped red appear, or as the clusters ere the grapes to ripeness fully come, an orient purple here and there begins to grow on some. Which things as soon as in the spring he did behold again, he could no longer bear it out, but fainting straight for pain, as lithe and supple wax doth melt against the burning flame, or morning dew against the sun that glareth on the same, even so, by piecemeal, being spent and wasted, through desire did he consume, and melt away with Cupid's secret fire. His lively hue of white and red, his cheerfulness and strength, and all the things that liked him, did wands away at length, so that in fine remained not the body, which of late that wretched Echo loved so, who when she saw his state, although in heart she angry were, she mindful of his pride, yet ruing his unhappy case, as often as he cried, alas, she cried, alas, likewise, with shrill redoubled sound. And when he beat his breast, or strake his feet against the ground, she made like noise of clapping too. These are the words that last out of his lips, beholding still his wonted image past. Alas, sweet boy, alas, farewell. Alas, sweet boy, beloved in vain, farewell. And by, with sighing, around the self-same words, the echo did reply. With that he laid his wearied head against the grassy place, and death did close his gazing eyes, that wandered at the grace and beauty, which did late adorn their master's heavenly face, and afterward, when into hell received was his sprite, he goes me to the well of Styx, and there both day and night stands tooting on his shadow still as fondly as before. The water nymphs his sisters wept and wailed him for sore, and on his body strode their hair clipped off and shorn. Therefore the wood nymphs also did lament, and echo did rebound to every sorrowful noise of theirs with like lamenting sound. The fire was made to burn the corpse in waxen tapers light, a hearse to lay the body on with solemn pomp was dight, but as for body, none remained. Instead thereof, they found a yellow flower with milk-white leaves new sprung upon the ground. This matter all Achaia through did spread the prophet's fame, that everywhere of just desert renowned was his name. But Pentheus, old Echion's son, who proudly did disdain both God and man, did laugh to scorn the prophet's words as vain, upbraiding him most spitefully with losing at first sight, and with the fact for which he lost fruition of this light. The good old father, for these words of his patience much did move, said, "Oh, how happy shouldst thou be, and blessed from above, if thou wert blind as well as I, so that thou might not see the sacred rites of Bacchus' band. For sure the time will be, and that full shortly, as I guess, that hither shall resort another Bacchus Semele's son, whom, if thou not support with pomp and honor like a god, thy carcass shall be tattered, and in 1,000 places each about the woods be scattered. And for to read thee what they are that shall perform the deed, it is thy mother and thine aunts that thus shall make thee bleed. I know it shall so come to pass, for why thou shalt disdain to honor Bacchus as a god, and then thou shalt with pain feel how that blinded as I am, I saw for thee too much." As old Tiresias did pronounce these words, and other such, Echion's son did trouble him. His words proved true indeed, for as the prophet did forespeak, so fell it out with speed. Anon this new-found Bacchus comes, the woods and fields rebound, with noise of shouts and howling out, and such confused sound. The folk run flocking out by heaps, men, maids, and wives together. The noble men and rascal sort ran gadding also thither. The orgies of this unknown god full fondly to perform, the which when Pentheus did perceive, he gan to rage and storm, and said unto them, "O ye imps of Mars, his snake by kind, what aileth you? What fiend of hell doth thus enrage your mind? Hath tinkling sounds of pots and pans, hath noise of crooked horn, have fondled illusions of such a force, that them whom heretofore no arming sword, no bloody trump, no man in bataille array could cause to shrink, no sheepish shrieks of simple women fray, and drunken woodness wrought by wine, and routs of filthy freaks, and sound of toying timpanies daunts, and quite their courage breaks. Shall I at you, ye ancient men, which from the town of Tyre, to bring your household gods by sea in safety did aspire, and settle them within this place, the which ye now do yield, in bondage quite without all force, and fighting in the field? Or wonder at your younger sort, approaching unto me more near in courage and in years, who meet it were to see with spear, and not with thirst in hand, with glittering helm on head, and not with leaves? Now call to mind of whom ye are all bred, and take the stomachs of that snake, which being one alone, right stoutly in his own defence confounded many one. He for his harborough and his spring his life did nobly spend, Do you no more but take a heart your country to defend? He put to death right valiant knights. Your battle is with such as are but meacocks in effect, and yet ye do so much in conquering them, that by the deed the old renown ye save, which from your fathers by descent this present time ye have. If fatal destinies do forbid that Thebe long shall stand, would God that men with cannon shot might raise it out of hand. Would God the noise of fire and sword did in our hearing sound, for then in this our wretchedness there could no fault be found. Then might we justly wail our case, that all the world might see we should not need of shedding tears, ashamed for it be. But now our town is taken by a naked beardless boy, who doth not in the feats of arms nor horse nor armour joy, but for to moist his hair with myrrh, and put on garlands gay, and in soft purple, silk, and gold his body to array. But put to you your helping hand, and straight without delay I will compel him point by point his lewdness to bewray, both in usurping Jove's high name, and making him his son, and forging of these ceremonies lately now begun. Hath King Acrisius heart enough this fondling for to hate, that makes himself to be a god, and for to shut the gate of Argus at his coming there? And shall this rover make King Penthe and the noble town of Thebe thus to quake? Go quickly, sirs. These words he spake unto his servants. Go and bring the captain hither bound with speed. Why stay you so? His grandsire Cadmus, Athamas, and others of his kin reproved him by gentle means, but nothing could they win. The more entreatance that they made, the fiercer was he still. The more his friends did go about to break him of his will, the more they did provoke his wrath and set his rage on fire. They made him worse, in that they sought to bridle his desire. So have I seen a brook ere this, where nothing let the stream run smooth with little noise or none, but whereas any beam or cragged stones did let his course and make him for to stay, it went more fiercely from the stop, with foamy wrath away. Behold, all bloody come his men, and straight he then demanded where Bacchus was, and why they had not done as he commanded. Sir, answered they, we saw him not, but this same fellow here, a chief companion in this train and worker in this gear, we took by force, and therewithal presented to their lord a certain man of Tyrrhene land, his hands fast bound with cord, whom they, frequenting Bacchus rites, had found but late before, a grim and cruel look, which ire did make to seem more sore, did Penthe cast upon the man, and though he scarcely stared from putting him to torment straight, O wretched man, he said, who by thy worthy death shall be a sample unto other, declare to me the names of thee, thy father, and thy mother, and in what country thou wert born, and what hath caused thee of these strange rites and sacrifices a follower for to be. He, void of fear, made answer thus, Acetus is my name, of parents but of low degree, in Lydiland I came. No ground for painful ox to till, no sheep to bear me wool, my father left me. No horse, no ass, no cow nor bull. God wrote he was but poor himself, with line and baited hook the frisking fish in the pools upon his reed he took. His hands did serve instead of lands, his substance was his craft. Now I have made you true account of all that he made me laughed, as well of riches as of trades, in which I was his hire and successor. For when that death bereft him use of air, save water he me nothing left. It is the thing alone which for my lawful heritage I claim, and other none. Soon after I, because that loath I was to I abide in that poor estate, did learn a ship, by cunning hand a guide, and for to know the rain's sign that hight the Olanan goat, which with her milk did nourish Jove. And also I did note the Pleiads and the Hyads moist, and each the sily plough, with all the dwellings of the winds that made the sea so rough, and each such heavens as mere meet to harbour vessels in, with every star and heavenly sign that guides to shipmen been. Now as by chance I late go did toward Dilos sail, I came on coast of Scios isle, and seeing day to fail, took harbour there, and went to land. As soon as that the night was spent, and morning gan to appear with ruddy glaring light, I rose and bade my company fresh water fetch aboard, and pointing them the way that led directly to the ford, I went me to a little hill, and viewed round about to see what weather we were like to have ere settling out. Which done, I could my watermen and all my mates together, and willed them all to go aboard myself, first going thither. Look, here we are, Opheltes said. He was the master's mate. And, as he thought, a booty found in desert fields elate, he dragged a boy upon his hand, that for his beauty's sheen a maiden rather than a boy appeared for to be. This child, as one forelaid with wine, and drained with drowsy sleep, did read, as though he scarcely could himself from falling asleep. I marked his countenance, weed and pace, no inkling could I see by which I might conjecture him immortal wight to be. I thought, and to my follower said, What god I cannot tell, but in this body that we see some godhead sure doth dwell. What god soever that thou art, thy favour us to show, and in our labours assist, and pardon these also. Pray for thyself, and not for us, quoth Dictys by and by. A nimbler fellow for to climb upon the mast on high, and by the cable down to slide, there was not in our keel. Swart Melanth, patron of the ship, did like his saying wheel. So also did Alcimedon, and so did Libus too, and black Epopius each, whose charge it did belong, unto to see the rowers at the times their duties duly do. And so did all the rest of them. So sore men's eyes were blinded, who covetousness of filthy gain is more than reason minded. Well, sirs, quoth I, but by your leave ye shall not have it so. I will not suffer sacrilege within this ship to go, for I have here the most to do. And with that word I stepped upon the hatches. All the rest for mentions to have kept, the rankest ruffian of the rout that like have had to name, who for a murder being late driven out of Tuscane, came to me for succour, waxed wood, and with his sturdy fist give me such a churlish blow, because I did resist, that overboard he had me sent, but that with much ado I caught the tackling in my hand, and held me fast thereto. The wicked varlets had a sport to see me handled so. Then Bacchus, for it Bacchus was, as though he had but though been walked with their noise from sleep, and that this drowsy brain discharged the wine, begun to gather sense again, said, What a doe? What noise is this? How came I here, I pray? Sirs, tell me whether you do mean to carry me away. Fear not, my boy, the patron said. No more, but tell me where thou dost desire to go to land, and we will set thee there. To Naxos ward, quoth Bacchus, though, set ship upon the foam. There will I have you a harbour, take, for Naxos is my home. Like perjured caitiffs by the sea, and all the gods thereof, they falsely swear it should be so, and therewithal in a scoff they bade me hoist up sail and go. Upon the redder hand I cast about to fetch the wind, for so did Naxos stand. What mean'st? Art mad? Opheltes cried, and therewithal begun a fear of losing of their prey through every man to run. The greater part with head and hand a sign did me make, and some did whisper in my ear the left hand way to take. I was amazed, and said, Take charge henceforth who will be for me, for of your craft and wickedness I will no further be. Then they fell to reviling me. And all the root gan grudge, of which Athalion said in scorn, "By like you, and you, Sir Snudge, consists of the safeguard of us all, and with that word he takes my room, and leaving Naxos quite to other countries makes." The god then dallying with these mates as though he had at last begun to smell their subtle craft, out of the fore-decked cast his eye upon the sea, and then, as though he seemed to weep, said, "Sirs, bring me on this coast ye do not promise keep. I see that this is not the land the which I did request, for what occasion and sort is there can you win no praise thereby receive, if men a lad, if many one ye compass to deceive?" I wept and sobbed all this while. The wicked villains laughed, and rode forward with might and main, as though they had been straight. Now, even by him, for sure than he is in all the world so wide, there is no God more near at hand at every time and tide. I swear unto you that the things the which I shall declare, like as they seem incredible, even so most true they are. The ship stood still amid the sea as in a dusty buck. They wondering at this miracle, and making but a mock, persist in beating with their oars, and on with all their sails, to make their galley to remove, no art nor labour fails. But Ivy troubled so their oars forth they could not row, and both with berries and with leaves their sails did overgrow. And he himself, with clustered grapes about his temples round, did shake a javelin in his hand, that round about was bound with leaves of vines, and at his feet there seemed for to couch a tiger's, lynx, and panther shapes most ugly for to touch. I cannot tell you whether fear or woodness were the cause, but every person leapeth up, and from his labour draws. And there one Medon first of all began to wax black, and having lost his former shape, did take a curbed back. "What monster shall we have of thee?" quoth Lycab. And with that this Lycab's chaps did waxen wide, his nostrils waxed flat, his skin waxed tough, and scales thereon began anon to grow. And Libus, as he went about the oars away to throw, perceived how his hands did shrink, and were become so short that now for fins and not for hands he might them well report. Another, as he would have clasped his arms about the cord, had ne'er an arm, and so bemoaned in body overboard he leapeth down among the waves, and forked is his tail, as are the horns of Phoebus' face, when half her light doth fail. They leap about, and sprinkle up much water on the ship. One while they swim above, and down again anon they slip. They fetch their frisks as in a dance, and wantonly they writhe, now here, now there. Among the waves their bodies bane and lithe, and with their wide and hollow nose the water in they snuff, and by their noses out again, as fast they do it puff. Of 20 persons, for our ship so many men did bear, I only did remain nigh straight and trembling still for fear. The god could scarce recomfort me, and yet he said, "Go to, fear not, but sail to dire ward." His will I gladly do. And so as soon as I came there with right devout intent, his chaplain I became, and thus his orgies I frequent. Thank you for letting me read to you tonight. Please check the description for where to buy my art, my channel page for where to send me a one-time donation. My audiovisual production of Oscar Wilde's Salome is coming. It'll be out soon. It's about obsessive love. See you tomorrow.